My name is Lucy, and for most of my school life, I existed in a way that barely counted as existing at all. I was the girl teachers forgot to mark present because I never raised my hand. The girl classmates talked around not to. The girl who learned early that silence was safer than attention. I wasn't invisible because I wanted to be. I was invisible because it was the only way to survive. Every morning, I walked through the school gates with my shoulders slightly hunched, eyes fixed on the ground, rehearsing the same silent prayer. Please don't let today be worse than yesterday. It almost always was. The bullying didn't start loudly. It never does. It began with whispers, the kind that stop when you turn your head. Giggles that followed you down the hallway. Eyes scanning you like you were something embarrassing that accidentally wandered into the wrong place. They called me names, but never to my face at first. Mouse, Ghost. Why does she even come to school? I learned them all anyway. By the time I was 14, the bullying became bold. Someone shoved my books out of my hands in the hallway once. I remember kneeling on the cold floor, picking them up while people stepped over me like I was furniture. No one helped. No one even looked sorry. Another time, they hid my bag during lunch. I spent the entire break searching classrooms, my heart pounding, terrified of being late and giving them another reason to laugh. When I finally found it soaked in water behind the gym, I didn't cry. I stopped crying early on. Crying made them happy. Teachers noticed just enough to say things like, "Ignore them, Lucy," or "They're just kids." As if being young somehow made cruelty harmless. As if words didn't dig deep, permanent grooves into your sense of worth. I started eating lunch in the bathroom. Not because I liked it, but because it was quiet. Because no one looked at me there. Because I could breathe without wondering who was watching. I avoided mirrors. I avoided conversations. I avoided hope. I told myself love was for other people. Confidence was for other people. Being chosen was for other people. And then Jason noticed me. Jason wasn't just popular. Jason was everything. He was the kind of guy teachers smiled at differently. The kind of guy people moved aside for in hallways. Tall, effortless, with a laugh that made rooms feel warmer. Girls followed him with their eyes like gravity had shifted. He was untouchable. And I was Lucy. So when I caught him looking at me one day in English class, I assumed I imagined it. When it happened again the next day, I told myself it was coincidence. By the third time, my hands were shaking, because Jason wasn't just glancing. He was watching. Not with mockery, not with curiosity, but with something soft, something careful. The rumors started almost immediately. Why is Jason looking at her? Is it a joke? Dare? Maybe? My chest tightened every time I heard his name near mine. Fear wrapped itself around hope and crushed it. I'd been hurt too many times to believe in miracles. One afternoon, I stayed late in the library to avoid the halls. I was halfway through packing my bag when someone sat down across from me. I didn't look up at first. Then I heard his voice. Lucy, right? My heart stopped. Slowly, painfully slowly, I raised my head. Jason was smiling at me. Not the cocky smile he gave everyone else. This one was nervous. Real. I wanted to ask if you'd like to walk home together sometime. The room spun. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the moment they laugh. But the laughter never came. What came instead was something far more terrifying. Hope. And that was the day everything began to change, for better and for worse. When Jason asked to walk me home, I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't want to, but because I was terrified that if I spoke, my voice would betray me. Shaking, cracking, giving away just how badly I'd wanted someone to choose me for so long. I nodded instead. A small, almost invisible movement. Jason noticed anyway. Okay, he said gently, like he understood more than I told him. Tomorrow? I nodded again. That night, I barely slept. My mind replayed his smile over and over, each time followed by the same thought. This is going to cost me. And it did. By the next morning, the entire school seemed to know. I didn't know how, I'd told no one, but secrets like mine never stayed quiet. Whispers followed me from locker to locker. Girls who had never acknowledged my existence suddenly looked at me with open hostility. Did you see her? She thinks she's special now. He'll get bored. They always do. Jason waited for me after class, like he'd promised. When he stood beside me in the hallway, the noise around us shifted. People stared openly, some laughed, others looked angry, like I had stolen something that belonged to them. As we walked, he talked about normal things. Music, movies, how much he hated math. He didn't rush me, didn't fill the silence when I didn't know what to say. For the first time in years, I felt normal. That feeling didn't last long. The bullying didn't just come back, it evolved. Someone spread a rumor that I'd trapped Jason. Another said I was pretending to be shy to manipulate him. They mocked the way I dressed, the way I spoke, the way I existed, now with an edge of jealousy that made it crueler than before. Once, I found a note stuffed into my locker. He doesn't really like you. He's laughing behind your back. My hands shook as I read it. Every old insecurity roared back to life. That night, I almost texted Jason to tell him I didn't want to walk together anymore. But he noticed something was wrong before I could pull away. You're quieter than usual, he said one afternoon, sitting beside me on the steps outside school. Did someone say something? I wanted to lie. I wanted to protect him from the ugliness that followed me like a shadow. But instead, the words spilled out, the notes, the whispers, the way people looked at me like I was something that didn't belong beside him. I expected him to pull away. Instead, his jaw tightened. They don't get to do that, he said. Not to you. The next day, he did something that changed everything. At lunch, the loudest, most public place in the school, Jason sat next to me, not casually, intentionally. He didn't just sit. He took my hand. The room went silent in a way that felt unreal. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Jason didn't look around. He looked at me and smiled. I felt like I might cry, right there, in front of everyone, because for the first time someone wasn't just choosing me in private. He was choosing me where it counted. That afternoon, the bullying didn't stop, but it changed direction. The same people who used to laugh at me now avoided my eyes. The whispers were sharper, more cautious. Fear had crept into their cruelty, because Jason wasn't just popular, he was respected, and he had made it clear where he stood. But power like that comes with consequences, and I didn't yet understand how dangerous jealousy could be. After that lunch, everything changed, not immediately, but subtly, insidiously. The whispers never stopped, but now they carried something sharper: fear. People avoided me in the hallways, not out of respect exactly, but out of caution. They weren't sure how far Jason's protection extended, or whether the quiet girl he had chosen could bite back. I had never wanted attention. I had learned to exist in shadows, to make myself small. But now, with Jason by my side, I felt visible. Not in the embarrassing, exposed way I'd known my whole life. I felt seen, chosen, untouchable, in a way that made my heart race and my stomach twist all at once. It was terrifying. The first real test came during gym class. The bullies, led by a girl named Madison, cornered me by the lockers, smirking as if they had already decided the fight. I froze, my instincts telling me to run, to shrink into myself. But then I saw Jason approaching from the other side of the hallway, tall, composed, and glaring at the group like a storm about to break. "Back off," he said, his voice low but commanding. Madison laughed, an unpleasant, sharp sound. "Or what? What's he going to do? You're just the quiet girl he likes." Jason didn't answer. He didn't need to. He stepped closer, the authority in his posture enough to make even Madison hesitate. He didn't touch them, didn't raise his voice, but his presence carried a force that none of them had expected. They moved aside. The group's smirks faltered, replaced with something like apprehension. That moment changed the dynamic entirely. People stopped laughing at me, at least openly. Some whispered behind my back, but it was different now. They had realized that I was no longer alone. Still, fear had a way of making people cruel in quieter ways. Madison began subtle attacks. Notes shoved into my locker, rumors spread on social media, attempts to embarrass me in class discussions. She would smirk when I answered incorrectly, laugh when I hesitated, and try to bait me into reacting. Jason was relentless, though. He never shamed me for being targeted. He defended me in small, consistent ways. A comment in class, a quiet word to a teacher, a protective hand on my shoulder in the hallway. With him, I began to feel something I had never felt before. Not just love, but safety. And I loved him. Not the shallow crush I'd had for fleeting moments before, but deep, real, consuming love. Every glance, every smile, every time he reached for my hand made my chest feel too full to bear. It terrified me. I'd spent so long being invisible that being noticed, being adored, felt like stepping into sunlight after a lifetime underground. Still, the bullies didn't give up. One day, they tried to humiliate me during a school assembly. They had a plan: spread lies, make me trip on stage, make me feel small in front of the entire student body. But before I could even step on the stage, Jason was there. He whispered something only I could hear. "Ignore them. Just be you. I've got this." And he did. With calm authority, he confronted the ringleaders, not with violence, but with words that exposed their cruelty. The teachers and students who had ignored the harassment before were forced to pay attention, and for the first time, the bullies realized that the quiet girl they had tormented had someone powerful in her corner. It didn't stop all the whispers. It didn't stop all the teasing, but it changed the power dynamic. The girl who had once been the object of mockery now had someone by her side who would not allow her to be hurt, and slowly, a fear of her began to replace the ridicule. And I realized something startling. I was no longer just Lucy, the quiet, bullied girl. I was Lucy, chosen, protected, visible, capable of being loved, and yes, capable of standing tall. After that assembly, life became a strange mixture of exhilaration and tension. I was no longer invisible, but being noticed brought its own set of pressures. Every glance from someone in the hallways, every whisper in class, carried a weight I had never experienced before. It was thrilling to be seen, but also frightening. For so long, I had lived in the background, unnoticed, safe. Now I was in the spotlight, and I had to learn how to stand in it. Jason never let me forget that I was strong. Not just because he defended me, but because he believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. We started walking home together regularly, talking about everything and nothing. He listened with patience I had never known from anyone. He laughed at my dry humor, he teased me gently, and he never tried to change me. And I loved him more deeply than I ever thought possible. The bullies, however, were not done. Madison and her friends, furious at losing control over me, began plotting their final attack. They whispered about me in classrooms, posted cruel things online, and even tried to get teachers to question my behavior. One morning, I arrived at school to find my locker completely trashed. Books ripped, personal notes torn, photos of me defaced. My heart sank, but before panic could take over, I saw Jason at the end of the hall. His eyes locked with mine, and he walked straight toward me. "Lucy," he said firmly, "don't let them win." And I realized something important. I didn't have to fear them anymore. I wasn't powerless. With him by my side, I was stronger than I had ever been. I took a deep breath, squared my shoulders, and calmly started cleaning the mess. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I didn't let them see me break. When Madison appeared, ready to laugh and point, I turned to her and smiled, a small, cold smile that carried more confidence than I had ever owned. "You're late," I said casually. "Did you want to help, or just watch?" The words were simple, but they struck her harder than anything I had said before. There was hesitation in her smirk. Her friends exchanged nervous glances. The power had shifted. I had taken the weapon they used against me, fear, and transformed it into strength. From that day forward, the bullying slowed dramatically. Not because they apologized, but because I no longer reacted in fear. They didn't know what to do with a Lucy who could stand tall, laugh, and smile without panic. My confidence, backed by Jason's support, became my shield. Meanwhile, my relationship with Jason deepened in ways that made my heart ache with joy. He introduced me to his friends, included me in activities, and made sure I knew, in private moments and public ones, that I was chosen, loved, and respected. Every shared secret, every laugh, every whispered word between classes solidified the bond that had begun with small glances in English class. I also began to notice myself changing. I smiled more easily. I raised my hand in class. I no longer avoided mirrors or avoided speaking my mind. The quiet girl who had survived by shrinking into herself was evolving into someone who demanded space, claimed it, and refused to let others make her small. The final test came during a school dance. Madison, desperate to reclaim attention, tried one last time to humiliate me in front of the entire school. She planned to spread a rumor, make me trip on stage, and ruin the night. But I was ready. Jason stayed by my side, holding my hand, whispering encouragement. When Madison tried to approach me with her smirk, I met her gaze directly, calmly, confidently, unafraid. "You're late," I said again, mirroring the words from the locker incident, but louder this time. "Did you want to dance or just stand there?" Her smirk faltered. The crowd murmured. She stepped back, and for the first time the bullies weren't in control. I was. I had reclaimed not only my dignity, but my life. As the night went on, Jason and I danced, laughed, and shared our first real, unguarded moments together. The world felt lighter, brighter, as though all the weight of years of bullying had lifted from my shoulders. And in that moment, I realized the full truth. Being loved didn't just feel good. It made me strong. It made me powerful. And it made the people who had tried to hurt me powerless in comparison. By the time the school year ended, I was no longer the same Lucy who had walked through the gates with her head down, praying to remain unnoticed. I had changed, not because I had suddenly become popular, but because I had learned that my voice, my presence, and my worth were mine to claim, and no one could take them away. Jason remained at my side through every challenge. Our relationship was no longer whispered in corners or hidden behind nervous glances. We walked together in the hallways openly, laughed in the cafeteria, studied together after school, and became inseparable. His love had been a shield at first, but it soon became a mirror, showing me the strength I had always had, but had never recognized. The bullies, who had once ruled the school with whispered cruelty and subtle sabotage, found themselves facing a quiet reversal. Teachers noticed how their behavior had escalated and documented it carefully. The student council and principal intervened after repeated complaints. Some friends turned against them after witnessing firsthand how small, cruel words could affect someone they had previously ignored. Socially, Madison and her crew were slowly sidelined, not out of revenge, but because they no longer had power over me, the person they had spent years trying to belittle. And me? I thrived. I raised my hand in class without fear of mockery. I joined clubs I had once avoided, eager to explore interests I had buried to stay invisible. I laughed loudly in the hallways and didn't flinch when people looked my way. Every whisper, every snicker I had endured became fuel, a reminder that I had survived and grown stronger than they could have ever imagined. Jason and I shared our first proper date that spring. It was simple, a walk along the riverbank, ice cream cones, and endless conversation. But for me, it was transformative. It proved that love was not just an abstract dream. It was tangible. It could heal wounds that years of pain had left. And it confirmed that the girl who had once thought she had no worth could not only be loved, but cherished fiercely and openly. By graduation, I had become someone who commanded respect without demanding it. People listened when I spoke, treated me kindly, and approached me with warmth instead of scorn. Jason and I celebrated together, knowing we had not only found love, but had faced a crucible that tested us, individually and together. The journey from bullied, invisible Lucy to confident, loved Lucy was not just about finding a boy who believed in me. It was about learning to believe in myself, to recognize my own strength, and to claim my space in the world without fear. Love had helped me see it, but the power had always been inside me. In the end, I learned that survival is just the first step. Growth is the second. And the final triumph is reclaiming your life with courage, grace, and unshakable confidence. I was no longer the quiet girl hiding in corners. I was Lucy, unstoppable, loved, and finally free.